What's up, guys? Tim Little. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today's video, we're doing another electronics video for you. Today we're going to be talking more about down imaging and side imaging, how they work really well together, some different settings. Let's go. Hopefully you guys got a chance to watch the previous video I did in this series where we idled around and basically real time showed you what fish look like on side imaging, on down imaging, on 2D sonar, some different ways to change out your screen to better show those fish, and then also how to not get confused with air bubbles and those sort of things. So if you haven't seen that video already, I'll link that down below in the video description. But from that video, you know, the overall feedback was awesome. You guys really enjoyed that, being able to record off the Apex unit to HDMI, to an HDMI recorder in real time as I was seeing things, interpreting things, showing you guys an HD video of what I was seeing. You guys really enjoyed that. So we're gonna do that again today, but I wanted to answer some of your questions. You know, we get a ton of questions, especially on electronics. The wind is really picking up, guys, so hopefully, I got a wireless mic on, so hopefully it doesn't mess it up too bad, but hopefully we'll be able to address a lot of those questions in today's video, because these things are basically computers. There's a lot of functions on them. There's a lot of settings that you can adjust, a lot of ways you can tweak them to get them to work better or worse. So let's address some of those questions, and then we'll kind of idle around and see if we can find some fish. So let me hit record on this recorder. Okay. We are recording. So the first question that, or one of the questions that we get most often asked is, where in the side imaging, or where in the down imaging or 2D sonar, where am I? Where is the boat? So in most cases, totally depends on your boat, but for the console units, your transducer is going to be back on the transom in front of your motor. So as you're idling through and you're getting a side imaging readout, see this little icon up here where the boat is? Up here at the very top, that is where the transducer is, right? So everything you see out here is going to be behind the boat, okay? That's the first question. As far as down imaging, same thing. Let me go ahead and change over to this screen. The transducer is reading from the top right corner, so the boat is going to be over here in the very tip-top right corner. That is your transducer, and then everything that has scrolled behind you is behind you. Now, with that said, the next question is how far behind me is that waypoint that I just saved, or how far off to the right or 45-degree angle back behind me is that rock pile or that stump? And there isn't a good or an accurate answer to that, because there are a few things that come into play. It all depends on how fast you're moving. Like right now, we're drifting at about 2 miles an hour with the wind, right? Now, if I was idling, I might be 3 to 5 miles an hour, and you can see how the difference is going to be the different space, the amount of lake bed that we scan is going to change based on the speed of the boat. So the simplest answer to that is just drop a waypoint. You know, this stump right over here, if I waypoint that, let's just say tree, boom, boom, waypoint that. Now automatically, go ahead and zoom in for you. It's going to put that waypoint right there, off to the right of the boat. the starboard side of the boat, okay? Now, next question, same thing with down imaging. How far behind me is this, right? Is it, well, this is only 15 feet, so can I use like a graph or a grid and kind of estimate that that is probably 50 feet behind me? Well, no, because it's all relative to how fast or how quickly you're covering ground. Again, the best way, the most accurate way to know that is to just drop a waypoint. You know, right here, the Solixes, the Apexes, they're touch screen, so it's super easy to drop a waypoint. Just touch and hold, I can waypoint it. So that is my best attempt at answering that question. You know, how far away is that object from the boat? Where it's showing on the readout, where it's showing on the side imaging, the down imaging, the 2D sonar, where is it? That's my best answer. So again, real quickly, on down imaging and 2D sonar, your boat transducer is the top right corner. Everything scrolling to the left is behind the boat. And then on the down imaging, side imaging, your boat is at the very top middle, right where the boat icon is. That is the transducer, and everything off of that is behind you. Now, one other thing that I really want to address or clarify, and then we'll go idle over some of this stuff and show you what I mean. We'll put it into use. Typically, when I'm side imaging, I want to be idling at 3 to 5 miles an hour. That's when I'm gonna get the best picture. Right now, we're in 25.4 feet of water, and we're just drifting with the wind. We're actually kind of protected behind this point, but we're just drifting. So everything's kind of just blurry, right? It's kind of fuzzy. We'll clear that up once we start idling. But what I want to show you guys, your transducer is right here, right in the middle of your screen, straight vertical line. That is your transducer. Now this area over here to the right and left of the boat, the port and starboard side of the boat, see this black area? That is actually your depth. That is this 25 foot over here. See that? We're at 25.6. So when I get out of this screen, this black area right here is this black area. You see that? That comes into play when you find suspended fish. When you find, you know, a bait ball over here, right? That is almost 30 feet out to the starboard side of your boat, but it's suspended. Now, so that is what those two things are. That line, that is your transducer line, and this is the actual depth, the vertical depth between the surface right here and the bottom of the lake. Hopefully that makes sense. So now that we have that dialed, the one last thing that I want to explain to you, and then we'll start idling. When you are adjusting, let me go ahead and start the motor up, and we'll get some clearer picture going on. When you start idling and you're searching for structure, right? You're searching for rock piles, foundations, flooded timber, whatever it may be, right? When you're idling, so right now, let's see. Right now we are going at 3.9 miles per hour, 3.7 miles per hour, okay? I'm gonna adjust the width of my sonar beam. Right now we are scanning 150 feet out to the right and the left of the transducer. What you have to understand is, see how we're 26 feet? So remember how I showed you this gap right here was the actual depth down below the boat. So it's scanning down and then out, right? So this right here is 26 feet. Let's just say that it's 25 feet, 25.6. Right now we're scanning 150 feet. You have to deduct that 25 feet from the overall width. So actually what you're scanning is 125 feet. So if you just deduct the depth right here from your overall area that you're, or range that you are scanning, you'll have a more accurate idea. Hopefully that paints a clearer picture how far away things are from you, okay? So now we talked about that. The one last thing that I want to talk about is going to be the sonar cone. You know, in that last video I referenced a flashlight. I've taught that for years, that these transducers, you know, down imaging, 2D sonar, side imaging, it's basically like a flashlight, right? They're sending out a ping, a sonar ping. Picture a flashlight. It's going to shoot out and register back. When you take a flashlight and you shine something at night, the thing you hit is really bright, right? Let's go back to side imaging. Perfect. There's a stump. It's a little blurry because we're not really covering a lot of water, but you can see the face of this stump right here is lit up. Look at the back. See the shadow? That is where that sonar ping or that flashlight is bouncing off, and it's creating a shadow behind it. A lot of times that's where you're gonna find your fish, behind the objects, okay? So we talked about that. The one last thing that I want to talk about with the actual vertical sonar. Again, your transducer's up here in the top right corner. This is everything that we went over. People ask, how big of an area is this 2D sonar actually scanning? It's a really simple math equation. Its beam, its flashlight beam is 1/3, so a third, it says, of your overall depth. So if your depth is 30 feet, the actual cone that your sonar is showing is going to be 10 feet wide. So everything you're seeing right here in that scenario I just painted would be within a 10-foot diameter from your transducer. So that really helps if you're vertical fishing, jig fishing, you're spoon fishing, ice jig fishing, something like that. So just know that the cone, the area that flashlight is lighting up on the bottom, is a third of your overall depth. Again, if you're fishing in 30 feet, that lit up area, that readout, is reading a 10-foot section. Got it? All right, now let's go idle. Let's go see what we can find and hopefully get some good readouts. So I'm always tweaking my stuff. Right now I'm only in 14 foot, so I'm not gonna scan 200 feet out, right? I'm gonna drop this down to about, let's say 120. Now understand too, when you're scanning 120 feet out, you're looking for a giant bass. That might be only 20 inches, 24 inches. That's a very, very small percentage of this overall screen. So when you're doing that, it's really hard to see a lot of detail with a real wide range. So that's why I'll go over it. I'll find the key piece of structure wide, and then I'll narrow in my view and then go back over it. The other thing I wanted to talk to you too about, some people say, oh, you only need 2D sonar. We got by with it for years, right? But you can see my setup right here. I'm running side imaging, 2D sonar, and down imaging. It's just a way to cross-reference what my unit is showing me. I want to make sure that, oh, we got some kind of foundation over here. I want to make sure that I mean, you look right here, you look at the 2D versus the down. Sometimes, a lot of the times, the down, ooh, there we go. Got a nice good foundation over here. So perfect example. You know, you waypoint this, waypoint, I'm just gonna go ahead and make that a rock pile. Let's do some rock. Boom. Bam, it's on my map. So I don't have to worry about how far back that is to cast to it. I can drop my motor, my troll motor, turn around and make casts to it. Let's go ahead and go back over that. You can see we got another one right out here. Go ahead and make that a... So what I was saying is I'm always cross-checking what one screen is telling me to the other. 2D sonar for me shows fish extremely well. Side imaging, down imaging show structure and fish's air bladders extremely well. What I get when I'm running, got a stump over here. Let's go back over this foundation, and then I'll explain about the 2D versus the down imaging. And that's a really good picture on a foundation. Look at all this over here. A lot of times you'll see little white lines in the dark, or little white blobs in the dark areas. That is suspended fish. That's fish air bladder showing up. Go over that one more time. But what I was gonna say is the target separation between 2D sonar and down imaging is night and day. I mean, there's been instances where I've went over something that could be air bladders, could be air bubbles, it could be fish, it could be whatever, and then I switched to down imaging. I'm like, oh, wow, that is an entire fish habitat. Looks nothing like that on 2D sonar. Oh, we got a bait ball over here. We got remnants of a bait ball over here too. See that? See the shadow over here to the right? We got one over here. Remember what I was telling you about the depth, right? The depth from the boat. So that top of that bait ball actually comes out to almost mid-column. Looks like we just missed that other edge of that foundation. But I've had so many different times where I'm looking at, look at all these bait balls. Let's go back to views. Hopefully I can show you what I'm talking about. So there we go. There's 2D sonar on top and down imaging on bottom. 2D sonar shows fish extremely well. That is where it shines. You can see right up here, I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about. That right there, you see those little bleeps? Now let's look at those on down imaging. Those are actually fish bladders. So those are bass in with the bait fish, okay? So how this fish readout works, what fish look like I said, if you haven't seen that video, watch it. I'll link it down below. But as that flashlight, that sonar beam, that transducer beam goes over a fish, say it's suspended, it goes over it, it creates an arch. Sometimes those fish swim through just a corner of that cone. There's different readouts that can be really tricky. But having the two different views, I can kind of check myself. Man, is that really fish? What is that? I can really see detail with the 2D. So if you're, or with the down imaging. So if you're in the market for some kind of electronics, if you can spend a little bit more money, try and get something that has side imaging and down imaging. Most all of these units today, unless they're just a GPS unit, will have 2D sonar, and you can get away with that. You'll have your depth, you'll have your water temp, you'll have all that good stuff. But you can see out here, I mean, look at this readout right here. There's hardly anything showing on down imaging, but then right here, up on 2D, boom, look at these fish right here. See those arches? Those are fish off the bottom. A little bit bigger fish, their air bladders will read out on the down imaging, but you can see right there where it's extremely important to cross-check yourself, make sure you're not missing those fish. Guys, I apologize, I have to stay kind of right here. It is super wavy out there and I don't want the camera to be all over the place. But hopefully, guys, that clarified some of your questions. I'll go back over this foundation again real quick. I picked up 3 extra waypoints, which is nice. I'm always behind my electronics. I'm always looking at things. I didn't see any fish on that, that foundation. I didn't see any white dots. Kind of looks like little, little mini pieces of rice or little white specks. You'll see that. Got some suspended stuff up here. But it is a big old piece of structure, cover, for these fish out here on this point, on this high spot. So, oh, here we go. Look at down imaging right here. Let's go back to this view. Let's go back to views. Let's go down over, 2D sonar over down imaging. See these fish? Look at these fish right here. Look at the target separation. 1, 2, 3, 4 fish right there. Now let's look at 2D sonar. I mean, you can see a little bit, but see how cross-checking? There's a bunch more fish over here. So they're actually, I'm wrong. There are fish on this foundation. What do we got here? There's actually a lot of fish on this foundation. But you can see right there stacked on top the differences in the 2D sonar and the target separation with the down imaging. Really, really cool stuff. So we got fish, we got a foundation over here to the right, we got stumps over here to the left. Let's look at this. Look at this stump right here. Look at all these fish off to the side, both sides, and then we got some bait fish up here. Pretty cool. Doesn't get much clearer than that. That's really, really cool. We got some stumps over here, got some stumps over here, got the foundation over here. Look at this stump right here on down imaging compared to what it looks like on 2D. On 2D, it's just a blob, right? A solid red blob. Look at these bait balls. But guys, hopefully that clarified or at least answered the majority of those questions. You know, where are you relative to this stuff you're seeing? We're up here in the top right corner. That is, everything up here is directly below the transducer. Straight down is directly below the transducer, and then everything to the left is gonna be back behind. So what I like to do when I'm fishing a new lake or I'm checking out a piece, a point or something, I try and keep my boat as straight as possible. I don't want to be doing tight turns and kind of smearing my side imaging. I want to do like grids. Go up there, turn around, come back. If I'm scanning, say 100 feet to the right and the left, I'm going to set my grids. I'm going to do a 100-foot pass, go down, make my turns, move over about 75 feet, so there's a little bit of overlap, and then I'm going to do my 100-foot pass again. And boom, just kind of grid out that point so I know that I'm not missing anything. But guys, hopefully that helped you out. Again, stop recording down here. These things are amazing. They are computers. There's so much you can do to tweak, you know, changing sensitivity. Right now, my sensitivity is set at 13, my contrast is 13, my chart speed is 5, my range is 120. You know, that's what I'm running right now, but I'm always tweaking my range. If I'm checking a vast opening, I might change my frequency. 800 mega is going to be your clearest. That's the mega imaging. But I'm always changing my range, my side imaging. And then once I find something that looks juicy, that looks really good, I will waypoint it, and then I will dial in the graph, drop down my range from 200 foot to even maybe 80 feet, right? And then I go over, I'm gonna get a real nice, clear, up close, zoomed in picture of what is going subsurface, what's going on subsurface. So guys, electronics, don't be afraid of them. They are just more tools in your arsenal to help you figure out the fish. But hopefully this video cleared up, you know, what is this black space on the side imaging? You know, what is this black space down here on the 2D sonar, the down imaging, and where in the world is the boat in relative to these readouts. Guys, if you have any more questions, leave those down below in the comment section. I will try to get to those as soon as possible. But as always, guys, thank you for watching. If you learned something from this video or you like this style of video, give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel. Guys, we will see you on the next video.